Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Treya Tarot. This is the collective reading for the weekend of December 27th to December 29th, 2024. I hope everyone's had a good holiday week and that you enjoyed the readings for the, midweek celebrations. I've already shuffled and cut the deck. This is the Wandering Moon Tarot. And we'll just get started. If you like these readings, please like, subscribe, comment, ring the notification bell, all the usual stuff. All right. Six of Swords, movement away from difficulty. Ace of Wands. We're moving into something new. This is the forward projection, clearly, from the Six of Swords. So what we've left in the past is probably along the lines of what we were talking about in the other two readings. It seems like we've definitely made our decisions this week. Okay, so Six of Swords, movement away from difficulty to calmer waters. Ace of Wands, new creative beginnings, new physical locations, a new sense of self, a new passion. Three of Wands, no longer waiting for things to come to you, going out into the world. And the Seven of Swords, which is a card. Seven of Swords is complicated for me because there's sort of two ways to read it. One way is deceit and manipulation. The other way is the disarming of an enemy. And by disarming, I mean the mental acuity to disarm with intellect an opponent of some kind or somebody you are arguing with. Okay, so this tells me that an internal shift has been made. So collectively speaking, we may no longer be willing to put up with any sort of deceit or manipulation, and therefore we are aware of how to disarm the argument, which is interesting, So any conflict you might have been engaged in or encountering over the past, month, I would say, you may be moving very far away from in the near future. This weekend may bring the opportunity to resolve and or leave behind an argument or difficulty by either physically taking yourself out of the situation and moving on, or by mentally and creatively working together with this person to have all emotional, all impassioned purposes validated. Okay, let's see. All right, you can see that Queen of Wands, the Chariot, the King of Cups, and the Page of Pentacles. Queen of Wands, I was listening to a reading, I think it was yesterday. I can't remember which one it was because there's so many that I listen to every day. But I was listening to a reading about the Queen of Wands. It might have been, who was it? It might have been the Slipstream, that channel. I love the way she reads. There was another one I was listening to. I will try and remember who it was that brought up the Queen of Wands as the unshakable force. But someone in one of the readings that I listened to yesterday talked about the Queen of Wands being present as the one you can't manipulate, as the queen that won't let you shake her perception because she's not self-doubting, because she's nurturing, because she sees the whole situation. And I would say that that's a really beautiful way of reading this Queen of Wands because of its placement right below the Six of Swords. So this Queen of Wands is supporting your movement away from something, but towards something much calmer and much more mentally stable, right? So the Swords cards, they're all ideas, they're all concepts, they're all thoughts. Whereas the Wands cards are all passions and movement, okay? So there's movement in that Six, and there's movement in both the Ace and the Queen. Implied movement towards something fulfilling, towards something impassioning. Again, passion's a big part of this because with Wands cards, you're dealing with creativity, okay? So you're dealing with a type of internal drive that's a little different from, say, a Swords decision, which might be more on the mental level, like, oh, which way do I go? As opposed to with the Wands cards, where it's more on this sort of fundamental, instinctual level. The Chariot, picking yourself up and out of one thing, transcending into another. The King of Cups. The King of Cups is beautiful with that Queen of Wands, because I feel like these are the two things that the masculine and feminine have been working on, which I also think is very interesting. The stability of the Queen of Wands for the feminine is this sort of ability and willingness to fight to retain herself, no matter what she's met by, to retain her own sense of self. Whereas the King of Cups is this ability for the masculine to center in their emotional state and actually express themselves, which to me is the thing that really hasn't been present in terms of the archetypes of the energies. So it's like this experience of, I will not allow myself to let go of what I need for anyone or anything else, and I will finally learn to express myself clearly and with respect to all involved. The Page of Stars is that new reality, is that new physical situation. The Page of Pentacles is, what do we do with this? How do we make this real? So now that we've walked away from one dynamic and we have the potential for another dynamic that could literally lift us up out of a pattern into something new, how do we do that? How do we build something we've never seen, And that's where this King of Swords comes in. Beautiful, but being relentless, No, the King of Swords is that clarity of thought and focus, okay? So the thing about the King here is that he does not mince words. So he's got this sort of strength of his own will involved, his own mental will. So in my opinion, that can be good or bad, depending on the following card. And here we have the Tower. So what you have here is this new dynamic breaks something else apart, breaks the stubbornness down. So in my opinion, this will probably or could present as something altogether super positive, in that the Tower comes in to break down falsity. The Tower comes in to remove structures that don't support. Okay, so toxic structures or structures of belief that aren't actually rooted in the situation. Past assumptions, things like that that might be relied upon for safety reasons. The King of Swords tells me that there is this sort of that's the stubborn factor. Those are the false walls, right? That the Tower is coming into breakdown. And then the Eight of Pentacles gives that extra added feeling of what we work on is what will be magnified. So this is the work, the breakdown of the false walls is the work. And that's the beautiful part about it. I mean, I do love the Tower sometimes. It frees people. It frees us. Okay. So the renewal of the dynamic is actually about renewing ourselves so that the feminine aspect, or our feminine sides, can stand up for themselves, and our masculine sides can express themselves. And that alone resets something. That alone is the work that we've been doing. That new moon card. I love the new moon. I know that I'm probably not reading it as it was intended, but I will tell you this. The new moon for me represents a fullness and a key. Getting a piece of information or a piece of an experience that unlocks the rest of it. That's what that represents for me. And I'm not exactly sure why that's how I read that card, other than to say that the full moon, this is the new moon, that the full and the new moon cards, both of them, have particular symbols on them. Okay. The new moon, if you notice, has the crescent and the inverted triangle, and then the keyhole. For me, this is the card of, like I said, there's a key. There's a piece of missing information that is on its way. Okay. The other implication to the new moon is that something goes dark. Something's hard to see. And that's why I think that that keyhole, particularly in the image, is significant, because it's the idea that when you don't know what's happening, you have to rely on your intuition, and that the key comes to you when you ask for it. The missing information is coming. And I know I've said this over the past week, but that's what that represents to me. And then the Seven of Cups. Now, the Seven of Cups is about false options. Okay? It's about things that are not for us, looking like things that we might be able to get. So the key, the key here is whether or not we can see what's real, which unfortunately is the theme. And then the Three of Cups, okay? So I'm going to read this for what it seems to me. As we get through the old dynamic of people-pleasing and the withholding of self-expression, because that's essentially the two qualities that the Queen of Wands and the King of Cups heal here. As we get through that dynamic, which seems to be the masculine-feminine dynamic that's unbalanced and unhealthy and all of those things, we are getting through to the opportunity, to the choice point, which is the choice point of whether or not we're going to stick through and finish the work, or whether or not we're going to fall apart and, recreate the cycle over again. Because that's what that Seven of Cups and that Three of Cups represents for me. It represents the restart of the cycle, because the false options and then the third party. All right, that Seven of Cups is about not knowing what's real. It's about shiny objects. And that Three of Cups is about third parties. It's about triangulation. It's about celebration. It's about parties. So what I see here is an archetype of relationships, which is interesting because this weekend we have an astrological transit that literally rules that. It rules all of those things. It brings up the propensity for straying from relationships as well. So the energy here is, do you want to fix the cycle, or do you want to start it all over again? And if you start it all over again because you get distracted by a shiny object, then that's kind of what's happening. It's just you restarting the process from the beginning and kind of erasing the work that you may have done, or that we may have done as a collective. I feel like the overwhelming theme here is that there's this factor, there's this quality in American culture where we think if we don't immediately feel good all of the time in an interaction, then it must be that we should just leave that interaction and, move on to the next one that does feel good. Except if you notice, it feels good for a little bit. And then the same pattern tends to start all over again. For those that are listening and understand what I'm saying, if a pattern's restarted, you have to see through the pattern with your awareness instead of stopping it. You have to get to the other side of it to heal it. And sometimes that's about leaving something behind. Sometimes that's about bailing. Sometimes that's about sticking it out. And sometimes that's about paying attention to the part of you that's afraid of loss and afraid of this particular potential in any relationship. If you are afraid of being left or afraid of having someone chosen over you, that will most likely come up this weekend. Or at least it has the potential to, according to this story here. Because this deck is all about those sort of, I want to say shadowy aspects, but I don't mean it that way because it's the moon. So it's mystical, it's self-reflective, it's internal. The deck itself kind of feels that way to me. I would say this process could also happen on a very personal, internal level, mentally. with all the swords, and may or may not actually happen in your physical world so much as it does in your thought process. However, the potential exists with these cards that your partner will either find someone else, the relationship could end, or you could, inversely, meet that challenge and get past it and therefore solidify the relationship itself. So those are the two options I can see in terms of how this story plays out in conjunction with the astrology that's coming. I will link, I don't even have to link it. I've only ever linked this person's channel for astrology. But if you go to the Adam Ellen Boss's channel, Nightlight Astrology, he just posted a video about 5 things to watch out for this weekend's astrology. That was, very enlightening and definitely reflective. Like, I can see the themes in the cards that he brings up in the video he posted this morning. So that's definitely worth a watch if you're interested. Okay, so I hope everyone has a great weekend. And I really do hope that when you're met with the challenge that you know your heart well enough to make a decision that's in alignment with you. All right. Well, have a good one. I will see you on Monday.